We just heard from British Prime Minister Theresa May speaking outside 10 Downing Street. She's calling for politicians to put aside self-interest and find a consensus on Brexit. Earlier, May survived a confidence vote in the British Parliament after her Brexit deal was voted down yesterday. The CBC's Briar Stewart takes us through her day.
The ayes to the right, 306. The noes to the left, 325. So the noes...
It was a narrow victory, but a victory nonetheless. Prime Minister Theresa May and the Conservatives survived a vote of no confidence by a margin of 19 votes. It came after a bruising debate this afternoon. The Labour Party attacked May on a number of fronts. The party leader accused her of running a zombie government, and the deputy leader took a slightly different approach, and he made it very personal.
We know she's worked hard, but the truth is she's too set in her ways, too aloof to lead. She lacks the imagination and agility to bring people with her. She lacks the authority on the world stage to negotiate this deal. Ultimately, she has failed.
But after hours of debate and the vote, the government still had the confidence of the House, and May outlined her plans for the next few days. She's going to be meeting with parliamentary leaders to negotiate with them and see what can be done to get them on side and get their support for this withdrawal agreement.
The House has put its confidence in this government. I stand ready to work with any member of this House to deliver on Brexit and ensure that this House retains the confidence of the British people.
There were repeated calls for May to take the option of a no-deal departure off the table. There have been many warnings about the potential implications of the UK leaving the EU without an agreement. Businesses are worried about how it will affect their ability to import and export, and there are concerns about gridlock at the border. But May has always said that the best way to avoid the potential chaos of a no deal is to vote for the agreement that she has. Now, she's going to be coming back to Parliament with some kind of plan B, and then her next challenge will be getting MPs to support it and then getting EU officials on side as well. Briar Stewart, CBC News, London.
So now that Theresa May's leadership lives to see another day, what are her Brexit options? Let's walk through them.
We're living through a historic moment in our nation's history. Following the referendum that divided our nation in half, we dearly need to bring our country back together.
First, and the most likely, May could go back to the EU and ask for a new Brexit deal, possibly with more concessions for Britain.
Now they need to come up with something that they can get through Parliament, but it also has to be something that the European Union and Ireland can accept.
May could also ask to push back the March 29th Brexit deadline to buy time.
Should there be a UK request to extend, setting out the reasons for such an extension, it will be a matter for the EU 27 to decide by unanimity.
May also has some politically riskier choices. She could call a snap election to win new backing in Parliament, or...
I think the only credible option for the UK now is to put this back to the electorate.
May could hold another referendum, something she has vowed not to do. The final option, and what many see as the worst-case scenario, would be for the UK to leave the EU with no Brexit deal.
She should not be the Prime Minister who goes down in history as having led to the crash-out Brexit, because that will be a disaster economically and socially for the United Kingdom.
So what route should Theresa May take? Anthony Kerry served as High Commissioner to Canada from 2007 to 2010. He joins us from London, England via Skype. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. UK Prime Minister Theresa May's government won her confidence vote today. From your perspective, what is the best path forward for her?
Well, I think it's very hard to say what the best path for her is, because we're in an appalling situation. In a way, what happened over the last couple of days has been no surprise. It was widely expected that she was not going to be able to get the deal through the House of Commons, and she failed dismally to get it through the House of Commons. And it was widely expected that if there was a vote of confidence, she would succeed in getting the support of the House, because nobody is vying at the moment to take over this poison chalice. What everybody's waiting for, and what we still don't know, is what her plan B is. The House of Commons has now taken back control to the extent of forcing her to come back to them within a few days. So on Monday, she'll be coming back to say how she proposes to proceed. And that is a step forward, because up to now she's been able to kick the can down the road and put off the crisis. But now the House of Commons is forcing her to take a position, and she'll take that position on Monday. In the meantime, she has finally, after 2.5 years, is prepared to talk to other parties about how to proceed. Up to now, she's entirely dictated herself, and not just for the whole country, but for the 52% who voted to leave. She has been entirely dominated by trying to meet their wishes and meet the hard right within her own party who want to see a hard Brexit. She has created red lines which she's been absolutely unwilling to move on, and she has refused to speak to anybody else and just stuck to her guns and proceeded. Now, for the first time, she is going to have to talk to others, and she started doing that this evening. She spoke to all the parties this evening, apart from the Labour Party, which has said it doesn't want to talk to her until she has taken no deal off the table and made it clear that that will not be one of the options she's prepared to pursue.
Now that she's started these conversations, how easy do you think it is actually possible that she might be able to find some common ground among lawmakers?
Well, I think it's extremely difficult because, I mean, the real problem is that the Labour Party has no position. The Labour Party is not a government in waiting so much as an opposition in hiding. They've been very happy to leave this mess with the Conservatives and say, this is a Tory shambles, we're not responsible for this. It's clearly this government's making a mess of it. And the problem for the Labour Party is that they have a membership who are against Brexit, and 80% of them would like to have another referendum and be able to correct the error of 2.5 years ago. But they have a leader who is a Brexiteer, and although he doesn't want to say so, he clearly wants Brexit. But he's not taking that position. He's trying to straddle the fence and let the Conservatives take all the flack.
Now, you've mentioned the big date to watch is Monday for this Plan B for Brexit, but March 29th is, of course, the date set in law for when Brexit is supposed to take place. Do you think that date could get pushed off given the chaos that exists right now?
I think it's extremely likely that it will be a move forward, yes. The European Union has signalled very clearly that it would be prepared to extend the timetable, and that is possible under Article 50 by unanimity. What I think they will be reluctant to do is to extend the timetable simply so that we continue bickering among ourselves. And I think they would want to see that the United Kingdom had chosen either that it wanted to have another referendum, which they would give us time to have another referendum, or that it had chosen to change the red lines and that the House of Commons was able to coalesce around some position. And that position, I think, would be a softer Brexit than the one that we're at the moment would have been heading for under the deal that May had previously negotiated.
You just mentioned referendum. Do you think that all of this turmoil that's taking place right now could actually lead to another referendum, or is that done?
No, it's not done. It's certainly possible. There is a widespread pressure to have another referendum. The SNP would like to have another referendum. The Liberal Democrats would like to have another referendum. There's the membership of the Labour Party would very much like to have another referendum. There's about 80% of the membership would support it. So there is a lot of support, but the Prime Minister has set her face absolutely against the idea of another referendum. She has chosen to treat what was the outcome of a flawed consultative referendum 2.5 years ago as if it was a tablet of stone, and that this is absolutely the iron will of the people which she is determined to deliver on. So it'll be very difficult to trigger another referendum because she's very determined to prevent it if she can. But there may come a point where if the House of Commons can't coalesce around anything else, they're basically forced to send a hospital pass to the people because they say, we can't sort this out, so we're going to have to ask you again whether you really want to proceed in the way that you asked us to 2.5 years ago.
Mr. Kerry, last question to you. We have less than 30 seconds here. What is the one thing you're looking for on Monday when it's time for that Plan B to be presented?
I think it's really to see whether the Prime Minister finally is prepared to tack away from the ERG. There's a group of hard Brexiteers within her party, and up to now she has been willing always to give them, in the end, the whip hand in determining her policy. And she has offered them what was actually an impossible outcome of that they could have their cake and eat it, although that was not negotiable in the European Union. When she then came back with her deal, she continued to say, well, don't worry, in the end, I'll be able to meet your needs. There's a point where she's going to have to tack away from them and possibly on Monday, she will start to soften her red lines that we will not be part of a customs union, for example. She might say, well, we could be part of a customs union on the single market and on freedom of movement, even potentially. So there could be some moves. If she does that, then she may split her party. So that may create huge tensions within the Conservative Party and potentially split. So it could be dynamite if she does it, but that would be the thing I'd be looking for on Monday, is to see whether finally she's prepared to change the position, which up to now she's been absolutely unwilling to alter.
Anthony Kerry, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.